Choosing a game engine is one of the first steps that you as an indie game developer is going to make. Whichever game engine you go with isn't going to be the difference between a successful game and a failed game. There's been hugely viral and successful games in every single game engine, at least the popular ones that you've heard of. It's more about where your skill set lies and the kind of look that you're going for your game specifically. For the last few years, I've been making all of my games in Unity, and I'm planning on continuing to use Unity as well, although obviously a lot of people have recently switched to Godot, and it's a great engine, but I just personally still prefer Unity, especially with Unity 6 coming. Unity's worked perfectly for me, and there's a couple of reasons as to why I've stuck with that game engine, and I plan to continue sticking with that game engine. It goes without saying that the number one reason as to why I've chosen to stick with Unity has primarily been due to the amount of seemingly endless resources when it comes to online support. Whether that's discussions on the Unity forums or YouTube tutorials, everyone seems to have come across the issue that you're currently experiencing and has a fix, and has even explained why it works. And it just helps massively to be able to kind of get past these obstacles and bollards that would normally be in the way, that you'd have to really grudge through and figure out for yourself. Whereas because of the amount of online resources there is for Unity, you can kind of just work it out and put in good pieces of code that work for your project. Having C# as its primary language has made my life a lot easier. Now, I've worked with C# a little bit on other projects outside of Unity, so having that previous experience has definitely helped quite a bit. But I feel that it's even quite approachable for beginners. Yeah, languages like Python and GDScript are absolutely much more readable, and certainly less syntactically heavy, but C# gives you a great understanding of core programming concepts and how your code actually works without having to worry about the lower level complexity of using languages like C++ in Unreal. It's also hugely useful outside of game development. As I said earlier, I've used it in lots of other projects, whether that be WinForm, WPF, there's even Razor, so you can use it for web development. So it's a win-win all round, but at the end of the day, the language, at least for most indie game cases, is more of a preference. Don't worry too much about the performance unless you're trying to do some grand game. So when it comes to performance, with Unity, it's more than enough for most indie devs. I mean, it's even enough for some like larger scale studios. I think if you're going to be creating a game that needs to be incredibly visually impressive out of the box, then maybe consider Unreal. The stuff that you get visually out of the box is just insane. Whereas if you're maybe going to be doing just purely 2D game and it's relatively simple, then maybe look at Godot. It's somewhat simpler than Unity and it's a little bit more lightweight, so it might be better for what you're trying to create, but I think Unity is more than enough in terms of performance and tools and everything like that for pretty much any indie dev doing any kind of game. Another reason as to why I would still recommend Unity, and I will be using Unity myself, is because of its infamous huge asset store. Yeah, Unreal and Godot have lots of assets that you can also use, but with Unity, just everything is there. There is nothing that is not on the asset store. You can find everything there, and it makes it even easier that it's kind of built into the game engine, so you can just import a package with a click of 2 buttons after you've bought something, or even downloaded it for free off of the asset store. And it saves so much time when it comes to game development. That being said, it's really important to note that a lot of models that you can download on the asset store, so things like characters, game objects, and things like that, you can actually import normally into other game engines such as Unreal, but it's always good to double check. But again, because I'm using Unity and I'm using the Unity asset store, I just know that it's going to work in Unity. I don't have to have that extra step process. Love it or hate it, I still recommend Unity, whether you're trying to make a career and a job out of it, or whether you're just trying to make some funded games or even just hobby games on the side. I would 100% recommend Unity. If you're looking for a fresher approach in game development, especially one that's got a simpler approach when it comes to its programming language, and I definitely recommend Godot, definitely check it out. And then finally, I'd say if you're looking for a career as a AAA game developer, working for a large studio, or maybe you just want hugely, stupidly powerful visuals out of the box, definitely go for Unreal. But for me personally, I will always be falling back on Unity, at least for now. I'm willing to change in the future, but for now, Unity ticks all the boxes that I need it to tick. So the question goes back to you, what will you be using? I hope this video has given you an interesting insight onto which game engine will work best for your use case. And if you're interested in game development or are a game developer yourself, be sure to check out my other videos by subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.